Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. For anyone that's never been here before, my name is Victoria DL. I'm a senior DT. I've been with them for some time now, and today I would love to share with you the new embossing folders that we have that have been launched on Create and Craft. They're going to be launched very soon. And there are 2 embossing folders in the set. Now your embossing folder will come with an ink line so you can see the pattern more. Obviously mine is, you're going to get a reflection there, so we'll take it out of the bag so that you can see. So there you have a beautiful floral pattern there. I hope you can pick that up, and it's a really thick 3D emboss there, and of course you can use the deboss as well. So that is one of the folders, and I'm going to show you a few techniques that you can do with your embossing folders. I'm not going to cover everything, but it would just give you an idea that you just don't emboss a piece of white card and you're done. There's a lot more that you can do with your embossing folders if you choose to. So that is one of them, so we'll put that one to side. And then we'll take this one out, and then you can see this one as well. This is called a Bed of Blossoms, this one. I don't know the name of the other one because obviously we've been sent ours ahead of time. But this one obviously has the Tonic logo on there, and you can see the ink line to see the pattern. And this again is a beautiful, really thick 3D pattern there. If you can see that, I'm hoping you can. It's absolutely stunning, both of them really beautiful. So that is part of the set. The other part of the set, you're going to get these gorgeous sentiments, and you've got larger die sentiments that go with your stamped sentiments. So let's have a look what we've got. We have Believe in, for all you do, thinking of, a bunch. So you've got thanks, a bunch. So these work with these, okay? So we've got memories, always and forever, on your big day, sending love to, and then you have one here that says you. Forever thankful, so happy for, let's celebrate, especially for making my day, for being a true friend, for making my day, you're in my thoughts, sending all my love, you brighten my day, you're my everything, you're a ray of sunshine, for someone special, you're a great, for your kindness, you're the best, it's your birthday. Then you have some little ones here that say warm wishes, you're a star, lots of love, dreams, it's your birthday, and then you have girl, my friend, boy, and miss, as in miss you. So that is a good amount of sentiments there on that set. You also then have some little plaques that your sentiments will fit inside if you choose to use those. And then we have the floral element here. So we've got 2 flowers the same, so you could layer them if you wanted to, the smaller and a larger there. I'll put those on there. And then again the same with the, I'd say this looks more like a poinsettia to me. But bunched together it could actually make a rose, but then this one could actually make a rose if they were bunched together. But these are going to work beautifully with your foils. I will cover the foils, but I'm mainly going to be talking about the embossing folders today, but we will go through the foils. So that's part of the set. If you obviously bought the foils as well, and the foil sheets with the foil fusion, I'll put that to one side. Then obviously you would have bought the packs with these foiled fusion florals here, and they're on a backing sheet, and you would just cut round the one that you want with scissors, leaving enough space to obviously then put this on a piece of cardstock ready to cut out with the die, because obviously all these flowers, let me pick a bigger die, they will cut out your flower, but you do it once you'd actually added it to a piece of cardstock. So you've got all your leaves there, you've got little branches, and I've no idea how many will be in a pack and how they'll be bunched together, but that's what you will be getting. So we'll put that to one side because we have the foils. Now I haven't got all of the foils here. We work ahead of time. Sometimes not all the stock has arrived when we get to play. But we have here the ruby red, the emerald green, and the polished gold. Now there is a rose gold in the collection, and that is the rose gold there, which is absolutely stunning, I have to say. So that will come in a box of its own. And we also have, can't be without our silver, can we? So you also have silver as well. Like I said, they'll be individually boxed. So that's what we have there. Now these foil fusion adhesive rolls, it's 5 inches times 16.4 foot, so you're getting a lot on there. But like I say, we want to trim the foil just to the right size because we don't want to waste any of a foil. And to be fair, when you have foiled a flower, let's say for instance you were left with this, and ordinarily you'd say, I'm going to throw that in the bin, don't need that. If you buy the Tonic adhesive roll, the big chunky roll that we have, I haven't got mine to hand. Let me just see if it is to hand. Hang on. There it is. It's never far away. So if you have this chunky adhesive roll, if you cut a piece of this to size on a piece of card and then place this waste onto the card, you put your die on there and you can cut that out, and you can then have the foil on the petal. Okay, so it's different ways of using it, and to be honest, after that there's still bits here that you could use on another card, so nothing is wasted at all. Very, very, very little waste that we're going in the bin. And you know, I think that's amazing, to be fair. So, you know, if you haven't had this from Tonic, this I would say is going to come in really, really handy for using with your foils to use your waste. So we've got that, and you'll be able to find that on the Tonic Studios website. These will be coming direct to Tonic 2 weeks after they've been on Create and Craft, so you'll be able to purchase straight from Create and Craft, straight from Tonic if you don't want to purchase from Create and Craft. Personal choice, but you will have to wait 2 weeks. So I'm going to put this foil to one side, and I'm going to run through with you cardstock. Okay, now I'm only scratching the surface here on what you can do with your embossing folders and your cardstock. Okay, so there's lots of different mediums you'll be able to use within these 2 folders. So here we have a black core cardstock. It's 240 GSM and it's a solid black core card. Now we can go over this with our mousse as a gilding wax and bring that pattern out. You could also spray it and shimmer powder it if you wanted to, or if you had any of those, what were they called now from years ago, the mica powders. Use your mica powders on these as well. Okay, or gilding wax if you have gilding wax. Then we have acetate, and you can put a pattern. Let me get a piece of cardstock underneath so you can see that. I'm hoping you can see that. So this would be great in apertures if you wanted to, because obviously you're going to see tape underneath here, so I'll either add a frame around it so you didn't see the workings of your tape, or place this in an aperture card so that the centre of this was the main focus. So there's acetate. Then we have vellum, and that's so pretty, isn't it? Now, not only will it work on vellum, it will also work on parchment, and with the parchment it will go a little bit whiter in areas, and then you could go in with your ball tool and bring that whiteness out on a sponge mat just to highlight more of these floral elements. So again, this would work in your aperture cards. It would work with a nice frame around it, just a sentiment and a flower there. So that's really pretty. You're then going to be able to use, I'm going to blind you. You're then going to be able to use your mirror card, and I just think that is absolutely stunning. Now, mirror card has a white backing on it, and of course that is beautiful on its own. You could go in there and colour. You could do whatever you wanted on the reverse side. Both sides work just as nice. But if you wanted a distress look, you could actually go over the surface of this mirror card and distress it with a sanding block. So that's always a possibility for you there. This is just a 300 super smooth GSM cardstock. Now, this worked great for pencils, for colouring. If you're going to use watercolours, obviously watercolour cardstock would be preferable, because obviously it's going to absorb the water. You can go in and if you're careful, you could go in with your marker pens, but be careful because obviously you have got that risk of a bleed. But there is a technique now where you can go in with your, I'm going to call them felt tips, but they're not felt tips. They are your alcohol markers. And then you would go over the surface then with a black ink pad. You would get the colour of the ink, and then obviously your background then would become black. But not only that, you put white in, and you can go in your embossing folder with a brayer. Now, I've had this brayer. It's well loved, as you can see, but it's still got plenty of life left in the old dog. And it's a speedball brayer, okay, and it's this one here. It's my preferred choice. I've used it for years and years. It's never let me down. And it has a little bit more of a sponge feel to it. It's firm, but it's more spongy than, say, this brayer. This brayer's quite firm, quite hard. Both will work, do not get me wrong. I've tried both. They both work brilliantly. But this is my preferred choice because it actually just presses into the embossing folder and applies that ink quite well. So these, you can get these in lots of different places, but it is a speedball brayer. So we will do that. We'll show you how to do that. Then we have this cardstock, and it is a, what do I want to say it is? It's a colour core. So like Crafter's Companion years ago had colour core coordination cardstock, and basically it had like this texture to the front. This is just a piece I had in from a very long time ago, and it has a different colour core on the back. So when this is sanded down, this colour will come to the top, and then you could ink on top of that if you wanted to, or you could just let that colour come through. So we'll do that as well, and we'll see what that looks like. And then we have here two pieces, oh no, one piece, sorry. One piece of, oh, what's the brand? What's the brand? Hunky Dory. How could I forget Hunky Dory? So many of you will have Hunky Dory cardstock, and it's quite a shiny surface on top of the card. It has a white core underneath, so of course you could have this side if you wanted, but it also gives you that opportunity to sand the top off and then have the white come through. So we'll have a look and see what that looks like, okay? Because I know plenty of you will have that cardstock somewhere in your stash. Here again we have a pearlescent cardstock. This is one I've had in my stash for a long time. It's not Tonic. Tonic's, it's a much nicer cardstock than this, to be fair, because Tonic's pearlescent is a beautiful colour card right through to its core. This appears to be the same quality, but it has a white inner core. So again, when it's sanded down, white should pop through to the front. So you'll possibly have some of that in your stash that you've bought from another company. And it's basically looking to see what cardstocks you have and what cardstocks you can use and experiment with. So we'll have a go with that. And then, of course, not forgetting the Tonic Studios metal sheets. Do you remember when we had those? And isn't that stunning? I completely forgot about this because I hadn't used it in such a long time. Shameful, I know. And I'd sent all my prep off to our lovely Karen, and it was only when I was sat there thinking about different techniques that I'd done for my prep, and I thought, oh, you donut, Vicky, you could have used the metal sheets. And I've got to say, I could kick myself, but isn't that absolutely stunning? And so lightweight as well. So that is, and you could cut shapes out with that as well if you wanted to. So I'm going to put that to one side, and we're going to have a little play with a sanding block and a brayer and some inks and see where we go. And then at the end we'll put a little simple card together. Okay, so we're going to start off with this pink pearlescent, and like I said, it has a white core. And the reason I know that is because I had a little play earlier, and if I was to tear it on the corner, and you see that white core there, now Tonics doesn't do that. Tonics is that colour right through. Okay, so this is just some I've had in my stash, so I thought, well, when that's sanded back, it should do the trick. So I have a sanding block. How well it will work, I don't know. I've not used it for a long time, but we're going to have a go. So you'll have to excuse the noise if it makes a bit of a racket. And there you can start to see that real high embossed is now being brought right back. We'll do half of it, and then we can see the difference. Now I am going to scoop that away because anyone that knows Vicky knows I don't like any chalky substances. So I have a Dust Buddy cloth, which I am going to dust away to make that pop. And you can see there how it's brought that white to the top. Now if we wanted to, let me see if I have the right ink pad to hand. So excuse if you get my head in the way, because I don't know where I've put the colour I'm looking for. So do excuse the old grey hair. So I'm going to go with a distress ink, and it's the Kitsch Flamingo. It's going to be a bit darker, and I'm just going to go over the top until we pick that colour up. And you can go over it as many times as you want, it's up to you. But you can see there how you can bring that colour back and go over with another colour. You could have left it white, it's completely up to you. So that's one thing you can do with the pearlescent card. Okay, so now we're going to sand this back, and this is our hunky dory card. Okay, so we'll see what this looks like. I'm using a different sanding block for this one, not that it matters. And I dare say you could use your DIY sanding paper as long as you had a fine sandpaper. So again, that has done exactly the same. It's taken that colour off the top and it's given us a lovely white finish. So that is another look for the embossed area there. And then the last one we're going to sand back is this colour core. So we have a different colour on the back and we have that texture on the front. So this will be distressing it. and you can see this coming through more and more. So we'll do the whole thing on this one. I'll use this other block. I like this block. And then we'll buff that off. And you'll be able to buff it if you had like a microfiber cloth. I'm sure it would do the same thing. And there you have all that colour core coming through there. And none of this will be wasted. I'll use these on other projects as I go along. But it's just experimenting with different cardstocks really. So we'll put the acetate one to one side. I'm not going to distress this because I do like it as it is for a project, but I am sure that would sand down. Or should we do it? Should we do it? Go on, we'll be a devil. We'll be a devil and we'll do it. And you can see there the white starting to come through. Apologies if you don't like this noise, and apologies if we're bumping and we're wobbling. So there you can see that distress look coming through there. So I think that would work absolutely lovely for a little shabby look. Okay, and you can feel it's sanded back. But you could add colour there if you wanted to, where it's gone. Well, I wonder what that would look like if we did that. Let's have, we'll go for it. We'll go for it. Why not? Nothing ventured, nothing gained. So, let's quickly go over that and buff that away. And there you can add a colour to where you take the ink away. You can see that. So this is all about experiment. It's all about playing. Don't be afraid, because at the end of the day it's a piece of card. It can go in the dustbin if you're not happy with it. So we'll put the vellum to one side. So this one we're going to use some Nouveau Mousse, and I think this one is, what's this one? It's powder blue. I should have known that, shouldn't I? Now, always with your mousses, decant a little bit out. Don't be putting your finger in the dish because it can cause bacteria to grow. So we just take out what we want, and I've taken too much out there, but you'll get the idea. So basically, I just work it into a little bit of a shiny, and then just with my finger go over the emboss. And you can go in as light or as strong as you want. So that middle bit we can go in really strong there, and then we can go in lighter on each petal. And you just keep working it. If you don't want to use your finger, you can use a little sponge, a little applicator. It's completely up to you. But we're just giving you just a few ideas if you're not that familiar with embossing folders, because I know we have new crafters, and although things do have a habit in crafting coming round again, and we used embossing folders many moons ago, and then they kind of disappeared off the market. Not completely, because nothing ever disappears completely, but things do have a habit of having like a little trend. And then of course you can tickle the little leaves just with a little bit there, just like that. And you're going to take your time, you know, I am just going in guns blazing here. But you're going to take so much more time than me. So the centre a bit stronger, and then, I mean, this with just a sentiment on, card done. Card done, and for any occasion. Could be sympathy card, could be birthday, thinking of you, hello friend, how you doing, a sorry card. Sometimes you do have to make those, especially me when I forget people's birthdays, but we shall not mention that anymore. And it's a bit bad, isn't it, when you forget to send a card and you're a card maker? Oh dear, dear. So we'll just go in the stronger petal there, and then we'll reuse some of that there. Like I said, you know, you would take your time, go in with a little applicator to get all these little fine leaves to show up. But this just gives you an idea, and isn't that so pretty? Now, I honestly believe that would be great of a sympathy card. I really do. Just a little sentiment on there, and it's all that's needed, to be perfectly honest. So I'm just going to get rid of this off my mat, and then we'll do a little technique with the brayer, and then we'll put a card together. So I think that matted and layered on a card, buffed up a little bit, I think that would be beautiful. Such a stunning embossing folder that is. So, embrayer, embrayer, that's an aircraft. See, my husband is rubbing off on me as we speak. He's an aircraft enthusiast, and an embrayer is a plane. So I meant brayer. So the girls in the office will be laughing their heads off at that now. So let's get our embossing folder. Let's get some white cardstock, and I'm just roughly going to eyeball this. So I'm just going to trim this little bit off. You would put yours in your paper trimmer and do a professional job. So, brayer. I am actually going to use the Nuvo Hybrid ink pad and the blue mineral. I did this for the show and it was a stunning colour on the white. Really, really loved it. So you will feel there you have a smoother edge and a bumpy edge, okay? And we want the sunken edge. So we want the deboss, not the emboss, okay? So basically, I'm going to ink my brayer up. So it will take a little while because obviously it's a mini ink pad. But we just want to distribute the ink all the way across the roller. Now obviously, if you're going to use a bigger ink pad, it would be better. But this is just the colour I am after, because it's just a hint of. So you just want to make sure you have ink all the way around your roller, okay? Just like that. And then you want to start maybe at the bottom and work your way up until you've distributed that ink, okay? So I am going to add a little bit more ink to my roller and go over the other side again, okay? And then put that to one side. I'm going to put my cardstock in and bring it down. And then if you're using the tangerine, the Tonic Tangerine, you want your grey mat and your raspberry mat. And you don't need the rubber shim, okay? And we're going to put that through our tangerine Excuse any wobbling. And then when we lift this out, isn't that beautiful? So you've got the palest of blue. It's like china. And that goes on the deboss, so that's your background. Now you could go in here and you could add a bit of colour with your pencils if you wanted to. But that is just stunning. And I'd just trim it off, matte and layer it and put that on a card. And I think that's absolutely stunning. And just to clean your embossing folder, just go in with a wet wipe and jobs are good. There for next time. So put those to one side and then I'll just show you. So that's the finish of that one, which I think is absolutely beautiful. I love that. And then for this one here, which is just been done on white cardstock, and let's say we want to go in with a pink, you can then colour over your design. Now if you want to use pencils, you can use pencils. If you want to use watercolour, use watercolour, but then use your watercolour card. Here I'm just using dry pencils, okay, and I just start off lightly. Don't press really hard, because the harder you press, you're going to press into your emboss. So you just want to go over your cardstock lightly and you just want to build your colour slowly but surely, okay. So I'm going to go in with that one. I might go in the centre with another one to add a little bit more depth. And again, looks like I'm pressing really hard, but I'm not. I am just tickling the card, okay. And then let's have a yellow middle, shall we? Don't know whether that'll show up too well on the camera, but hey ho, it's just to give you an idea. And then build the colour up a little bit with a bit of orange there, and you just keep building and building your colour. So you tickle it and tickle it and tickle it, and until you've got stronger and stronger colour. So then I'm going to lightly go over this edge. This is something that you would sit and spend a lot of time on. If you just one Sunday afternoon thought, oh, I want to do something but I don't know what I want to do, and you just want to take yourself away, this is what us crafters do. We just take ourselves away. And I tell you, by the time you've done something like this, you'll feel so relaxed, but you'll be so happy with your achievement. And you see how you just light flicks and you're building your colour deeper and deeper. And I'd just work over that and over that until I was happy with the colour. And like your little leaves, obviously they would be a nice green. And again, go in with your green and then add a little bit of a darker green at the end until you're happy. I mean, I'm just skirting over this. I would never dream of doing it this fast and putting it on a card. I would spend some time doing this. But this just gives you just an idea that an embossing folder just isn't a piece of embossed card. It's a lot more than that. It can be just a piece of embossed card, and there's nothing wrong with that at all, but it can be so much more. So again, you just build your layers up more and more and more until you've got that depth that you wanted. And obviously if you wanted to do watercolours, then use watercolour card. and that will give you better results. So we've gone over a pearlescent piece and then we've inked the top. So that's how it started its life, and that's how it is now with that darker pink. We had the Hunky Dory cardstock, which is a white core base card with a shiny surface. That takes it right back to the white core with a sanding block. We then have the core, I'm not going to be, coordinations. So if any of you have had the coordinations, I think it's from Crafter's Companion, I think, then you can do that with that. Then you've got your acetate, which will work great for an aperture card or something like that. Then you have your mirri. Now obviously it embosses beautifully as it is, you don't need to do any more to it. But if you want to sand it back and then distress it, you can. And then if you want to go over it again with inks, you certainly can do that as well. Here we have the vellum. It will work just as good with parchment, so that gives you a really pretty finish. Then you can go over with your black core cardstock and go in with your mousses like a gilding wax, and then that will look really pretty on the embossed area. Then you can go over with a white cardstock and your brayer, and then obviously it will colour all the negative part of your background and leave you with a beautiful white crisp finish. Let's face it, all it needs is a little black sentiment or dark blue sentiment there and your card's finished. We then went over with the watercolour pencils or pencils of your choice, and then we have the Tonic Studios thin craft metal, and this, I think we had it in gold, silver and copper, so that is absolutely stunning, and I shall use that on another project, no doubt. But that's just to give you an idea of things that you can do with your embossing folders. But we're going to make a card, so this is just a very simple basic card. But here we have a cream card blank with a gold, harvest gold matte, and we have embossed that stunning embossing folder with the beautiful, it's like a pinky peach pearlescent from Tonic Studios. I don't actually know the name of the card, but I'm sure somebody out there will know the name. And then from the die set we have die cut the backing of the sentiment in vellum with a gold thanks. We've then cut one of the foil flowers. We have also, oops, there we go, going off kilter there. Then we've done the little twig, the little viney twig there to go behind the back of the flower. And now we're going to do some foiling. So I'm just going to briefly show you the foiling. So we're going to have the other flower on the ivory card, and your sheets will have a backing. So peel the backing off. You can throw this bit away, and then you need to put your foil on the cardstock. So if you haven't got a bone folder like this one, I suggest possibly put this on your wish list. It's from Tonic Studios and it's the perfect tool for these foils, it really is. And you want to go over the sticker sheet, the backing, with the rounded edge, and you want to go over until you see that sticker turn dark grey. And if you can see on the camera there, it's mottled, but if you go over it you'll see it turn a darker grey. So when it's turned dark grey like that, you can release the film, and I do this slowly because if it hasn't, then you can go back over it. So that's perfect. There's nothing left on that sheet at all of acetate. Okay, so that can go in dusty bin. You then want to get your piece of foil and only cut a big enough piece to go over your flower, because you don't want to waste your foil. So you want foil side up and you want to go over that sticker sheet. press it down with your finger, and don't go too heavy-handed because you'll tear. But what you want to do is use that rounded edge and go over the petal, and you'll start to see the outline of that petal come through the foil. And I'll lift it up to the camera so that you can see. So can you see? You might be able to see that coming through there. So I want to go all the way round. Okay. Apologies if you don't like that noise. And then slowly peel away. If you go slowly, if you've missed a bit, you can go back and redo it. So there's a bit caught there. So we'll just go over that bit. And there we go. We've got a little piece there that just, I might have a bit of stickiness on my cardstock actually. Okay, so don't throw this away. This can go on the sticky sheet. We'll actually show that in a minute, and then you'll know that we're not going to waste anything here. So let's get the flower. Now, as you can see, you want a nice neat border of foil all the way around each petal. And then you don't want to put the tape over the top. You want to put the tape on the edge there just to hold the die in place, but you don't want to fetch any of the foil off with the tape. But you don't want that die to move in your machine. So we're going to put that through. Apologies again if we get a little wobble. We are doing some graft today. And then, see that? I would trim that down and I would use that within a card, which I did a 7x7 card for Jodie in like a rose gold, and I did 4 flowers. I actually trimmed these beforehand to a certain size, like 2.5 inch square, and I used the waste as part of the card. Okay, so you don't need to waste anything at all. You don't need to waste this either, and we'll show you how to use that in a moment. So there we have a beautiful flower. So I am just going to have them overlapping like so, and I'm going to have them on my card. So I want to do this little leafy, so we take it off the backing sheet, that goes in the dustbin. Again, we want the rounded edge of the bone folder. I want to go over that sheet until it turns dark grey. Okay, and we want to pull that film away, and that can be discarded. Then we have another piece of gold foil, foil side up, smooth it down with your finger just so it's adhered before you start rubbing, and again with a rounded edge, not too heavy-handed. It might sound like I am, but I'm really not going too heavy-handed, and you'll start to see that pattern come through. Okay, and then we'll lift that away. Okay, and again, we won't waste that either. So now we want the little die, wherever it's gone, to cut this out. So again, we want to make sure we've got an even amount of foil around the leaf of that leafy die. Stick round the edge, and then we're going to die cut that. And there we have that lovely little leaf there. Isn't that beautiful? So that's going to go on our card. So we've got everything we need for our card now. So I'm going to place this to one side, and then we're going to have a little play to see what that would look like on a sticky sheet. So I am going to cut some of this. I have to gunk my scissors up. So this is that sticky roll that Tonic sell. Really, really good buy, that is. A really good buy. And then just going to stick that onto there. Okay. And then I'm going to peel that away. I'm then going to put that foil side down. And then carefully, with that rounded edge, okay. I have no idea if this is going to work, but I think it will. I am just going to trim that down because I have a little bit of a sticky edge there, so I don't want anything else sticking to it. Okay. And then my guess is, if that is stuck down in the middle, getting all the air bubbles out there, we can go in and then, excuse if I've got my head in the way again, guys, I do apologise. If we foil that and cut that now in our machine, obviously these foils do work if you do have a foil machine that applies heat. So there you have a positive and a negative, so to speak. So where it's foiled the edge of this flower, you've foiled the petals of that one. So as you can see, nothing is wasted, and you could even go in and maybe trim around there, or you could add a frame around that and use that on a card as well. So you're really not wasting any of your foil at all. And even if you didn't want to do that and that was just too messy for you and it wasn't your thing, then this sheet that you had with your waste, don't throw it away. Use all these little pieces on something else. Keep them in a little scrap box for another day. Like that, you could reuse that as well. So nothing at all is wasted. And I think that's pretty good going, if I say so myself. So, without further ado, shall we put this card together, guys? Right, so I think I am going to add adhesive to this side. And you could use any side. Deboss, emboss, completely up to you. So I'm going to put a bit on there because we are going on Miri, and it is a debossed piece of card. So, and then I'm going to add some foam pads to the back. And like I said, this is a very simple card, but I really just wanted to show you a few techniques with the embossing folders. I think this year is going to be a good year for embossing folders. So if we have any more, then you are going to be well prepared. And it'll give you food for thought, as they say. So take the backings off there. I'm going to place this on the card blank like so, and that's just an elegant card already without anything else being added. So then I'm going to add my sentiment to the vellum, so not a huge amount of glue, just a tickle with the glue there, and I will actually dab a little bit of that off. You don't want to soak your vellum with too much glue. And then to hide the fact that we have gone on vellum, we will add the glue just to the back of the wording so that it doesn't show through when we place it on the card. Okay, it will dry clear, but there we go. I think we're straight there, aren't we? And then with my sponge mat and my ball tool, I am just going to lightly, very lightly, shape the back of my petals. Okay, and then press in the middle. Just gives it a little bit of dimension, but not too much. We don't want to break up the foiling that's on there. And then again, press down. I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive there, and I'm just going to put one over the other. And just hold that with my ball tool for a minute. Now I haven't actually switched my heat gun on, so I am going to add this with wet glue, but you're going to get the idea. I just won't be tipping it up. So I'm just having one flower here and a little green stem at the top and one at the side there. Okay, so I'm just going to add adhesive under there and add adhesive under there as to where I know where I want those little flourishy pieces, and then some adhesive just there. And I will go in and add a little pearl drop to the centre of that flower when I find my drop. We'll just hold that just for a minute, because I normally glue these with hot glue, to be fair, but I haven't actually switched my glue gun on. So the card isn't finished yet. We need a little sentiment to go underneath here. The reason I have done the flower in cream is because the card base is cream, so that's going to draw your eye into the flower, and then this little sentiment we're putting here is going to be on cream cardstock, so again it ties it all together, so your view is of what you need it to be. So that said, I have my stamp, my embossing powder, my ink pad and my anti-static pad. So cream cardstock again. Let's trim that off. So I would use my anti-static pad. Okay, so I'll get some powder on there. I have a thing, I can't touch anything chalky. I have a thing about it. It gives me goosebumps talking about it. Anything chalky, so you'll never see me use ever distress oxides. I just cannot do it. The touch, even the smell, no. Anti-static bag, Vicky can't do it. But I do have this. It's from Tailored Expressions. I'm sure there's other companies that do them now, which is an anti-static bag in an applicator, and I am actually fine touching that because it doesn't feel like chalk. It just feels silky. But ordinarily, Vicky can't touch anything chalky. So that's just me. So we're going to press, and this has seen way better days, but it's still got lots of ink in there, and it's our clear mark embossing pad from Nuvo. And then I'm going to stamp down, and I'm going to add some Nuvo gold embossing powder to there, tip the excess off, And as you'll see, it's not got any powder anywhere else because I've gone over with an anti-static pad, and that stops all that clinging. See where it's clung here? And that's because this sheet hadn't been gone over with an anti-static pad. And then when you heat on that, it'll go all bubbly and it'll be messy. So if you haven't invested in an anti-static pad, I would highly recommend it if you want to take up embossing. So with my heat tool, I shall heat this. Now if you go from underneath, you get a smoother finish. If you go from on top, it's slightly bubbly, but I go on top. So I'm just going to heat that up. And then you'll start to see that change. If I go from underneath, you might see it change. There, it's starting to go now. It's something that I always find absolutely mesmerising. Doesn't matter how long you've been doing it, to see that powder just disappear like that. Now you want that to cool down before you're going to put your die over it and cut it out. So this is the die I would use to cut it out. I've done one earlier because obviously you don't want to put that through your machine whilst it's warm because the ink will come off. So we have one there for making my day. So saying thanks for making my day. So I'm just going to put a little bit of a foam pad on the back of that. And then we have our card made. Just trim that a little bit more. Bit gung-ho there, Vicky. So I do apologise if it's been a little bit wobbly and a bit rocky, but we've shown some things there. So I'm just going to have that underneath. And you see how that draws your eye in now to the cream, the cream and the cream. And then I would just finish off by adding she says my favourite drop ever, which is the ivory seashell, and we're just going to put a Nouveau drop in the centre there, and there we have a nice little card made. And it wasn't a difficult card, it was a simple card. I might come back and share with you a card shape at some point with maybe the foils or something else. If you want to see something else, then please leave me a message in the comment section. If you haven't already clicked the follow button, it would be great to have your support. You'll also get alerted to any new videos that I share. And if you could give me a thumbs up, that would be even nice, because then I know whether I'm doing a good job or not. And all that remains for me to say is this set will be available from Tonic in 2 weeks' time. It's going to be launching any day now on Create and Craft. And I just want to say thank you very much for joining me today. It's always a pleasure to have your company, and happy crafting.